Folks, we're back. This is Steve Sanson and Burke Hall with another episode of Veterans in Politics. Today we're going to have a special guest. He's been on the show once before, Jesus Arevalo. He's a former Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department officer, and he's going to have an explosive tale to tell about the Clark County Family Court. But before we get to our guest, Bert, you have any rants?
Oh, I got some rants, bro. Listen, here's the problem that we got with these nasty goat-smelling heifers over in the family court. And I am serious as a bad fart in church. We need to do something about these folks. And you're about to hear some stuff you have not heard before. No joke. Just be prepared. Because I'm telling you, you need to sit down in your chair, get you whatever you drink, a cup of joe, whatever it is. Because this dude's going to lay it out.
You got it?
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Mr. Arevalo,
How you doing?
tell us about yourself.
Oh, unfortunately, I've been stuck in the family court system or swamp for over 24 years. Started when I was 20 years old. High school girlfriend got pregnant. Mm-hmm. So I figured, you know what, I have to establish my rights. You know, as a man, I want to be able to, I fathered a child. I want to be there for my child. I want to help raise my child.
Right.
Well, I didn't realize at 20 years old, doing the right thing was such a hard thing to do. I mean, you got to jump through so many hoops, and you're in front of these judges, and right away they start putting all these demands on you. Well, you got to go to mediation. You got to go to a counselor. You got to go to this class, that class. Before you know it, you're into it like $1,000. You're taking cope with divorce classes, which me and my girlfriend were just girlfriends. Mm-hmm. Then you're taking parenting classes. Then you're taking mediation classes where at that time, it starts off with, of course, I'd go there and, your ex accused you of this, and this. So you're spending the whole time
Without any evidence.
Right. Just defending yourself because you know that this person reports back to the judge. Instead of going to mediation, say, hey, you know what? Your ex has these problems. How can we work together? It's, you're a bad guy, defend yourself.
Right.
And that started back 20 years ago. And the first judge I had was actually Fran Fine. And I helped.
Who they booted off the bench?
One of my cases, one of the ones that helped got her booted off the bench because I got called in there one time because I was working construction. And I'm 20 years old, out of high school, not going to college, trying to work, trying to pay child support, trying to take care of my child. And I'm working construction. And with union construction, it was you work when you can work because otherwise you're laid off looking for a job at the union hall. So I'm trying to work, make this money. And, I get called into the judge. The judge calls me from the chambers or one of her assistants. You need to come see the judge tomorrow at this time. I'm young. I don't know no better. I walk in there and I didn't know too much. I'm in a Nike jumpsuit because I thought it was just going to talk to her. I didn't know it was the actual court date. She's yelling and screaming at me, telling me that, I'm getting accused of all this stuff. And you stand in front of me here looking like a gangbanger.
She was yelling and accusing you.
Yeah, and told me I looked like a gangbanger.
So she violated her own, they call that...
Judicial Code of Conduct.
Yeah. No, the Judicial Code of Conduct. Yeah. When the judge is supposed to be respectful to all parties before the court. So they can't yell, they can't scream, they can't accuse you of stuff that there was no evidence of you doing, like gangbanger. He wasn't convicted of gang banging. He's not accused of gang banging. So you can't just throw names because you just feel like throwing out names.
It's this weird kind of strange menopausal insanity, screaming that like Pomerantz does. You know what I mean? It's some crack smoking. They got what you call black robe syndrome. You know what I mean?
She probably had a bad day.
Yeah.
And she's taking it out on you.
Oh, pretty much.
Or maybe you reminded her of her kid.
I don't know what it was.
So
but
they bring their personal bias to the bench.
Yeah, and after that I went to the news, and back then when I was 20, 21 years old, they did a news story on it, and they threw her on the news, and shortly after that she was thrown off the bench.
Yeah.
The funny thing is one of my relatives had a situation and went and hired her years later. Mm-hmm. And the judge they were in front of, I can't remember what judge it was, but she told them straight up, I am friends with that judge. You give me $15,000, I'll get you exactly what you want. Sure as shit, Her relative gave them $15,000. She got them everything they wanted without a shadow of a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
That's
like,
how it is. Pay to play.
yeah,
Yep.
it's just it's and the way it's evolved is just crazy because back in that day you had mediators where like I went through Equal Rights for Divorced Fathers and Ernest used to help us out a lot.
The castle.
Yeah, good guy.
But in all honesty, the Equal Rights for Divorced Fathers, they had a person who wore a camera
Oh,
into Equal Rights for Divorced
Mm-hmm.
Fathers, a male, and found out that Ernest was training or teaching male folks how to get their significant other or their wives for domestic violence so they could have something on them when they go to court to get the kid.
what lawyer here in town doesn't do that?
It's,
I mean,
it's
I
an
know-
underhanded thing.
It's underhanded. I know. I never heard of it. I wasn't there when he did that. I don't know, but
Gail Nathan, who was a judge, set that whole thing up.
Okay. But I mean, you always have those accusations in family court, whether it's from the female side or the male side. And I mean, but my experience with them and that organization, they helped me out. And during that time, they could refer you out to a mediator that was not within the courts. So you could pick outside mediators that were qualified mediators, had certificates and qualified, went to school for it. And you could go there, and it was actually a real mediation system where she talked to both you guys. She go, hey, you know what? I can't give you legal advice, but let's try to agree on something. Or if we agree to disagree, let's find another way around it.
Right.
Now, supposedly because they don't have the money, they took it out of the court system, and now the mediation's actually farmed out to other family court attorneys. So my buddy, who's a retired cop and Marine, he just went to a mediation, and it was cost him like anywhere from $500 to $1,000 a session.
Oh, wow.
To pay another attorney sit there and go, no, this is what the law says. This is what the judge is going to tell you. This is what you need to do. My buddy's like, wait a second, mediation is supposed to be sitting here, you helping us come together and fix
Reach a
these problems.
compromise.
Yeah. So now you got the courts, instead of sending you to family services down the hall to mediation where, like me being disabled and living off a fixed income, paying $100 maybe or $50 for mediation, now it's $100 or $500 to $1,000 to another family court attorney who's within this corrupt system getting paid to tell you what you're going to do, how it's going to go, what the judge is going to tell you, so you should just go ahead and agree to this. It's like, how is that mediation? I mean, how does that make any sense? It doesn't. And now, another screwed up thing is I found out, and I think I told you about this a while ago and you posted it, was back when now Judge Margaret Pickert is now a judge. Back when she first started, she was a hearing master under Judge Voy. And at that time, she also had a page on Facebook called, not her, but someone else had Victims of Margaret Pickert. And back then, she was using her same, and you know what the business is called.
Her husband is Keith Pickert. He's
Oh,
a
yeah.
state senator.
A Republican.
Yeah.
A Republican. Yeah, I don't know how much of a Republican he is, but
in these days between the two of those, and I got to tell you, it's there's never been a time in history where we need to really get out the vote and vote in. And Steve has been beating this and beating this and beating this. How important him putting his life on the line for this country. And the same thing with you. You have a judge sitting to you, calling you a gangbanger, and here you are, worked for Metro for how many years? This is some crack smoking.
Yep. Yeah.
They're not only disrespectful, but they are beyond corrupt.
Oh,
And
it
it's
gets
time
worse.
for us to get out the vote and put an end to this stupidity.
Yep.
And get rid of that stupidity on the county commissions board as well. And the reason being is they're responsible for funding the Judicial Discipline Commission. They won't give them any money. They can only literally in one term investigate one judge. Really? Like Rena Hughes? They're all corrupt. It's just, don't get me started. We'll be here for a freaking hour talking about this.
I don't know how much of that money is coming from the county. I know the county helped fund a lot of the specialty courts. I do know that. But I think the judicial discipline is funded by the state,
What state?
the governor's office.
Mm.
Yeah, I believe so.
Well, back to Margaret Pickard. And you cover this a little bit. She used to have a business that would remove things or get things removed for people. Now, when that
What does that mean?
like on the internet, if something goes on the internet says Steve Sanson's a bad guy or Jesus Arevalo is a bad guy, you can have companies go on there and like send them a complaint letter, and then it gets pulled off.
Oh, you know, I have a lot of people, especially that Marshall Wood, put some bull crap letter about me on there, and I'm going to leave it on there so I can sue his dumb ass.
Yeah. So she had a company like that, and then the other company she made while she was she developed a class when she was a hearing master. She's working as a hearing master under Judge Voy for the family court system, collecting a big check as a hearing master. Then she goes and develops that class that everybody praises so much, cooperative parenting at UNLV. Yeah. It's supposed to be for high conflict divorces. Well, if you're getting divorced, obviously you got a high conflict, because if you're getting divorced, 9 out of 10 divorces are high conflict. So basically, every parent is being mandated by these judges to go to that class.
Is she getting a cut from that?
The investigation I did, UNLV would neither confirm nor deny where the royalties are going.
Well, if they don't confirm or deny, that means she's getting a cut.
You get the cut.
Exactly.
That's how that works.
Well, UNLV back in 2014 or 2015 actually praised her and gave her an award for the class she made.
Isn't that a conflict, though?
It should be a major conflict. You're a hearing master. You develop a parenting class. All these sitting judges have the brochure in their courtroom telling the parents, you're going to take this class. And like me at the time, still disabled, on a fixed income, no sliding scale, still got to pay $300 for the class, or $299, let me be exact, because I don't want to offend nobody. $299 per parent. Okay, it's on Tuesday and a Thursday. If depending on, one parent will be in either class. I think they run 3 or 4 sessions, 30 people in the class, $300 a head. It's almost $100,000 a year. And I started to email UNLV because I wanted to know. I can see it's corruption. I can see it's a conflict of interest. I can see it's big money, but I wanted to know. So, and I can't remember his name, but I got it in emails. I was emailing back and forth with the people that run that department, and actually got a little higher up. And they told me that they don't make any money. UNLV doesn't make any money off that class. They actually lose money for holding that spot. They hold that classroom specifically as a judicial favor to the family court system.
So you're saying that all the money is going to Yep. Yeah, that's how it works.
I mean, you got to think about it. If they're paying someone to give the class, they're paying an hourly wage, which, I don't know, even at $20 an hour for 4 hours a day, their expenses aren't really shit. All the materials in that class, I kid you not, because I've been in this system 24 years, since I was 20 years old. They were playing you videos from the 80s and 90s.
Yes.
They got statistics from
1962.
Yes. The statistics that they're showing on their slideshow and they got in their booklet are still over 10 years old. You're paying $300 and sitting there for 4 hours a day for 8 sessions, learning shit that you could take in the one-time 2 to 4 hour class of Cope with Divorce. Or get this, I brought this up in my court case. I said, look, there's another really good doctor online that offers, it's No Child Left Behind. I can't remember what it is. It's another person that does these same type of classes, but they're online, that the court system also approves. $160 online. You don't have to find a babysitter. You don't have to drive all the way to UNLV. You don't have to rearrange your schedule and pay $300. $160 for a high conflict class online. Judge says, nope, you're going to take the UNLV class.
Because they're not getting any money from that online class.
Exactly. Margaret Pickard's in the system. She's spreading the wealth, spreading the money. Hey, you do this for me, I'll do that for you. In my opinion, that's how it works.
Okay.
And it's like how are we not seeing all these connections? You don't have to be a genius to see, oh, wait, she's a hearing master. Oh, wait, she developed this class at UNLV. Oh, wait, all these judges are making people go. No sliding scale, $300 a person. I got to find a babysitter once a week. I got to get gas money to drive there once a week. I got to rearrange my whole life. And the class, you get out kind of late. So if you got toddlers and shit, it's like, what are you people doing? You're not really helping with the high conflict.
You know, they had an article out a couple of weeks ago that said about 132 federal judges were caught ruling on cases that they had interest in. And a lot of those cases had to deal with the real estate or stock market or something of that nature.
Oh, you know what? I
So they rule on all these cases that they had personal interest in. So they're going to make money off of the parties that was before them.
Oh yeah, I mean, isn't that what Judge Jones went to jail for? Some kind of scam for the as far as what was it, fraudulent?
Some type of HOA.
Yeah, HOA fraud,
yeah.
money scam. Now the interesting thing, and I was going to bring this up last time. There's a very well, I won't call them special. I don't even know what to call them. The guardianship. I was going to bring this up last time. I've done a lot of research. You know, during the guardianship debacle with Judge Hoskins, who was in charge, and he says, well, he wasn't in charge. It wasn't his fault. Well, guess what? If you got a hearing master under you making rulings and things that it's called vicarious liability.
You're calling them hearing masters. They're hearing bastards.
Yes.
Is what they are.
Yes. Well,
John Norheim is still on the bench.
Oh, yeah.
And after all of that happened during that scandal, he was thrown off as a judge, and now he's a hearing master, still doing illegal stuff. It's crazy as hell.
Well, you know whose attorney he was, right? Before he got into being a judge and hearing master?
No, who?
The guy that was running, what was it? What was the strip joint that got busted by the feds a while back?
Cheetahs.
Yeah, the
No, is it Cheetahs? No, it was Crazy Horse.
Crazy Horse. And supposedly the guy that owned those was mob connected, and Norheim used to be his attorney. Yeah. And now he's a sitting judge.
I expected you to say something about Willie.
Well, yeah, we'll get to him, but you know, let's because I wanted to cover this last time. You know, everything's online. You can search names, you can search cases, you can pull up a lot of information. During that whole guardianship thing, it was found out that Hoskins had not just one, but a lot of refis and mortgages on a lot of different properties, whether they be single-family homes or commercial real estate. He had one property that was verified that was worth about maybe $500,000. He had a mortgage for $800,000, and all these things were getting paid off really quick. And you know, it's interesting that you know, and it's hard to find these and make the connections.
Let me stop you right there. And these judges want more money when they're getting side deals because they got that title of the judge. Well, that's why they get all these side deals. If they didn't have the title of a judge, they wouldn't get these side deals. Well,
this is one thing I'm going to say right now, and I'll welcome him to come on your show. I can't remember his name, and I'd like to debate him and find out exactly why he ran. And I'm going to call him a ghost candidate. A ghost candidate that ran against Hoskins. I can't remember the guy's name.
Thomas Kurth.
Yeah.
He was put up to run against Hoskins, but he wasn't supported with any type of
You know why he was put up to run against Hoskins? So Hoskins can get campaign contribution money so he can use that money that's left over to do anything he wants. You know this, and I've looked into it. There is no accountability for that money.
You know, and that would make sense because you had a whole group that was against Chuck Hoskins because of the
guardianship.
The guardianship, and they did a whole documentary on it.
Yeah, CLEA, which is the national organization for the elderly.
Yeah, it's on Amazon Prime. I think you could.
It's so sickening. I cried, dude. I got elderly parents.
Yeah, you could see that documentary, and you think with that type of exposure that this guy would be off the bench. FBI or U.S. Attorney's Office will get involved and get crooks like this off the bench, but it didn't happen.
Nope.
So when are still on
when they got behind Thomas Kurtz to run against him, I figured that something was gonna transpire because you had. When Hoskins went to get an appointment for the appellate court, I was there, and you had all these people. They had like over 300 letters sent to the Judicial Selection Committee was against Hoskins running, and you had about a dozen people personally came and testified before the Judicial Selection Committee against him running. Same thing with Vincent Ochoa, but he didn't get that many letters. But you think that, if anybody would have ran against Hoskins, he would have been removed. Mm. But I didn't hear anything about Thomas Kurtz. He showed up at a couple of events, and that was it.
Refused to debate him on what's the other Facebook thing? Our Nevada judges just didn't do nothing. And see, this is the other thing that's puzzling to me. Hoskins is big time into real estate. Big time. Commercial real estate, all kinds of real estate. Here, Utah, I've done my research. Why is it that none of this money that these judges make on these side real estate deals are in their financials? Every financial you see from Hoskins, every time he's ran for a judge, there's zero extra money on there. Nothing. And then when they get all these campaign contributions from all their favorite attorneys, it's not reported. And then when the campaign ends, what happens to that money? Nobody knows. They don't have to report it. It's all, and I've been told this by family members of someone that's family members that have gone into the district attorney's office, to a judge, to constable's office, and they have I grew up with a family, and one of their family members told me, judges take bribes. That's how they do the bribes. They don't have to report the money they're making. So any businesses they're into, whether they get involved in a LLC or a corporation, they don't report those. They don't have to report them. And then when the contributions come in for the re-election, they don't have to say, there's no accountability of where that money goes, what money's left over, and what happens to it after the fact. I mean, it's a whole way just to launder money, and it's completely ridiculous.
When we talk about the Chuck Hoskins and Thomas Kurtz race, it kind of reminds me of how Judge Voy put his sister-in-law into the race. It's just ridiculous how these campaigns are going, especially on the judicial bench. You think that they have more of a higher ethics and moral code. You wouldn't think that they'll stoop so low and do something. Although there's nothing illegal about it, but you don't think that they would do something like that. And the other thing that makes me know that this guy Thomas was a ghost candidate, and I'll look into him and I'll debate him all day long here. I don't care, because the other thing is, I want to say on his own Facebook page, Judge Hoskins said something, maybe not verbatim, but something like, well, I guess I got a campaign this year. Like he's really worried. Yeah. It was done so he could make money. That's all it was. Yeah, because you can't make any money if you don't draw an opponent. Yeah, if you don't have any campaign contributions, you got no more money. Mm-hmm. It's just I don't get it. I don't see why people's eyes are so closed. I mean, like you said, you had all these people show up to write letters that they don't want him on this job. Same thing that happened with Gonzalez. People showed up. He needed armed security to walk him out. He was so scared. Mm-hmm. But yet I don't know if it's because Vegas is such a transient town, but people's memories are so short. Or maybe the voting is just screwed up. Maybe the voting machines are fixed. Maybe. It's different. It's in, like we were talking earlier about code of conduct. You can see videos that another person, Mark DeCero, likes to post to Hoskins all the time. He will post all kinds of good stuff about Hoskins. Hoskins is always yelling at people. Mm-hmm. Always yelling at people. Mm-hmm. He said code of conduct. Always yelling. And then when he sits in court and people are talking to him, you'll see it sometimes on other things that posted. This is how he sits. Most judges, you're a professional, you're listening to somebody. This is Hoskins. Leaning back in his chair like, really? I got to listen to this guy again? Probably thinking about what's for dinner tonight. Yeah. I mean, it's just body language. Body language, he's yelling at people. I mean, the one case that he couldn't make a decision on, he kept dragging out. Don't know why he dragged it out. Say maybe so the attorneys can make money. Mm-hmm. Dad ended up dead. The daughter was having issues. Don't know what the issues are. They haven't really gotten depth in the case because everything's sealed and you can't really research a whole lot of it. But she ends up killing the dad. In sealed cases, you're not supposed to take the whole thing off of the internet. The orders are supposed to be there, who the attorneys are, who the parties are. And it even says in the NRS code, removing the entire case is prohibited. Mm-hmm. Prohibited. But they still do it. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what his... and that just went away. That was on the news for a while. Oh, teenage daughter and 18-year-old boyfriend, they
killed the dad, stabbed him multiple times.
Oh, you're talking about the house set.
Yeah,
case.
and set him on fire.
Yeah.
This was a case that was in front of Hoskins.
Was it that was a house set case, yes.
It disappeared. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? This guy's got blood on his hands because he couldn't make a decisive decision on how a case should go. You're just letting the other thing. He's letting this is another reason why this case probably didn't get solved. Now, when you go to a reunification, your daughter, my daughter, your kid, if they say at a certain age, I don't want to live with dad, I don't want to live with mom no more, and they want to go live with one certain parent, they won't let the kids come in anymore and talk and say, hey, look, I love mom, but, we're just not getting along. I think it's time for you to live with dad. No, they will make you pay to go do reunification with a court-appointed therapist that's going to run you $5,000 per session. And there's 2 of them. And neither one of them have the qualifications to give therapy to a dog.
It's funny that you should say that because this is how it's the most unqualified, the most dangerous people are actually running the shit show. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is like, look at Willick.
Oh God!
This is the very child porn guy who's sitting there in Reno, literally masturbating in front of 14-year-old girls that are changing in the dressing room.
Yep.
This is all covered up. This is the head. It's Willick.
Yep.
Marshall Willick.
And to clarify, I didn't hear Reno. I heard actually happened in Carson
City. I'm sorry. Carson City.
That's what I heard. That's what people are saying. It's all over the legal circle in Vegas, but nobody does anything about it.
But it's not. It's not just that. We got crazy people.
Who else works in his office? Did you know this?
Who?
Richard Crane. Richard Crane got busted by Henderson on a.
Heard about this.
He was actually trying to solicit young women to have sex.
Yes.
Richard Crane is a tier 2. You can look him up right now.
Yes.
Tier 2 registered sex offender. He lost his law license for years. Mm-hmm. He was still working in the Willick office, still getting billed on people's billing to pay for him to work there
as an attorney.
As an attorney,
when he doesn't have an attorney license.
That was and you know what? I'll even quote
in a family law.
That
practice.
was
family law.
Seen kids, minors.
Yeah. In the Holyoke case, and I know the Holyokes. In the Holyoke case, he was being billed his ex was being billed for Crane at an attorney level of pay to work on that case. And yet, just recently, and I called and left a message for someone to call me back, the board here in town reinstated his law license.
Yes. Yes.
A tier 2 registered sex offender that wanted to have sex with a minor child is working in a family law group as a licensed attorney. As an ex-police officer, that makes me sick.
You got black tar Jabato, right? Heroin, right? You got Sean the pinche cabron. You got this NCW crowd and this Willick crowd and this Abram crowd. They need, their demons need to go straight to hell.
Oh yeah. Oh, you want Sean? He's such a tough guy. You want to hear how tough he is? I heard he's got a safe house in his house, an actual safe room.
Yeah. He needed.
These keyboard warriors are just nothing.
It's crazy.
He used to be a fat boy. And then he got some type of liposuction or something.
And see, this is what I don't get. I mean, I get, you want to have an opinion and you want to try to run for office and you want to try to make your own NCW website for your own political purpose. But if that's what you're doing, how about do it as a grown-up? And like when he came after you, how about doing it the grown-up way and say, hey, look, this is my opinion. This is what I found. Instead of bickering like a school kid and calling you names, calling other people names, disrespecting people. This was a man that supposedly ran for an office and wanted to be in a political seat and lost. You would think that if he's going to do something else political, like a website to say what judges are good or what judges he wants to promote or whatever the business is, he would condone himself as a professional. But he's gone totally off the rails. I mean, even with me, I've had disagreements with him. First thing out of his mouth, oh, you're a murderer. I'm asking you questions on judges. I'm challenging you on facts, and you're going to call me names.
Wants to go off topic.
Yeah, it's like, okay.
This is a constant theme with these people. Look at T. Matthew Phillips. You shot up a school. That's some crack. They're getting their fannies sued right now because of this. And they have no compunction to lie whatsoever about their situations.
Yep.
It's hideous.
Yeah. And they promote the bad judges, like DeCero.
Yes.
It's part of NCW. DeCero will always be posting things about how great Hoskins is. Oh, look, we wrote a motion last minute and my client got full custody in front of Hoskins. And then yet when I bring up the fact that there's a bias here because in my case, Hoskins is sitting in front of my case. DeCero's always posting things about him, praising him, this, that, and the other. Even gave him, what's it called? Said, hey, I'm going to vote for you, a endorsement. And then Hoskins goes, well, I don't know the guy. Facebook, you thanked him for the endorsement. And then when it comes down to it, and I don't know if you know this, I don't know if you know I know this, but I found out, and I'm going to say it here, but it got squashed legally, but when it comes to mediation is not supposed to be used except if there's some type of criminal act associated with what happened within the mediation.
Correct.
Now, Willick will say he has nothing to do with NCW. Willick will say he is not associated with DeCero. But yet, from what I hear, and you don't have to confirm or deny, you can just sit there and say nothing because I don't want to put you in a bad spot. Mm-hmm. I heard that during a mediation session, during a lawsuit that Willick was involved in, that Willick actually admitted that he could take things down off of the NCW website that were being said slanderous about other people. And when he was asked, well, how can you do that? Oh, I'm also an administrator of the site.
I've heard this. I have heard this. But
yet,
no one else, but I didn't have any way of proving it, so I've never brought it up. But I heard this.
Well, I tried to subpoena a couple attorneys to come up and do it, and it never got to that point where the judges were willing to hear from my witnesses. But yet, you're telling me he's an admin, Marshall Willick's an admin of NCW, Sean's an admin at NCW, and Mark DeCero is an admin at NCW, yet it's okay for Marshall Willick to sit on a case in front of a judge.
Yes.
That they're all friends with.
Yes. They're all bed buddies with.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It's retarded. He got kicked off of a case, the Holyoke case.
Yes.
He got kicked off of because Judge Ochoa was in front of the Holyoke case originally. And when that happened, Ochoa came to Willick and asked for representation because one of his kids got in a fucking problem or something.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Ochoa hired Willick.
Yes.
And nobody said nothing. Nobody said that until finally
Huge conflict of interest.
Finally, the Holyoke found out and said, wait a second. He can't be here. We're like, oh, it's not my fault. I notified the courts. I can't control the judge.
And these are the same morons that went to recuse me from the entire 8th Judicial District Court.
Yes.
Because I took pictures
I remember this.
with judges.
Yes.
So if I took a picture with
If
a judge,
you took a picture with a judge,
or they show up on the show to put their platform on there, automatically recusal. But you got these assholes actually working for the judges on different cases.
Yes.
Friends with the judges, do CLE classes with the judges.
I'm telling you.
And you got Mary Perry, who used to work for the Willick Law Group, never recused herself. Even the Willick Law Group never recused himself from the being in front of Mary Perry.
Yeah.
It's all a big cabal. It's like the pot calling the kettle black.
It truly is.
I could go and say all kinds of shit. I could do whatever the hell I want. But if you do something even a slight compared to what I'm doing, no, we got to remove you.
You want to hear something about Mary Perry that nobody knows? I use several search engines on the internet to track and find out where these people live and where they do business, because all the judges are allowed to take all their homeowning information off of the county assessor's page. Mm-hmm. But everyone leaves a trail. I use so many different search engines. I can find any judge where they live, their vacation houses, who they're related to, who they're married to. Mary Perry, on a couple different search engines, pops up as a possible relative of Marsha Willick.
Oh, wow.
I shit you not. And this search engine was one that was not just a regular search engine, more like a family tree type search engine. And she pops up as a possible relative to Marsha Willick. We all know she worked in his office.
Well, anybody could be related to Marsha Willick. Marsha Willick only has one branch on the family tree.
Well,
He's been married 3 times, still got the same in-laws. Theme song to Deliverance is playing in his office.
Yep.
He's in
Yeah,
there.
but that's one thing that, I mean, stuff like that, people just, it's like, okay, if he's popping up as their possible relatives, whether it's through a marriage or through a second cousin or whatever it is, I mean, that stuff no one's going to tell you.
You know, that's an appearance of impropriety, and Judge Mary Perry needs to recuse herself from anything dealing with Marsha Willick or Jennifer Abrams, because
Now they're married.
They're married, or they're fiance, or they're going to get married. Either way, we don't know the real story on that, but it's still that she still needs to remove herself. And if any attorneys go before them and the opposite side is a Willick or Abrams law firm, they need to bring that up and get that recused.
It seems to me like the inbred hotbed of this ridiculousness is all tied up with NCW. Willick, Abrams, Schoen, all these dirty judges.
You want to know something? You want to know something?
Like Grimes.
Have you noticed that these folks never went after a family court judge?
Yeah.
Not a one.
Not one.
Not a one. They go after any type of civil criminal judge if veterans in politics is with them, but they won't touch
correct
a family court judge. Why? Because they got cases before certain judges, and it might go to this family court because family court is where they make their money.
Yeah.
Like Abrams with her Porsche car, you know, it's where they make their money. So they won't touch a family court judge. They're all good.
You know where Abrams got her money from, right?
Where?
Her divorce from her first husband.
Oh, I heard about that.
I it's public information. I got my hands on it, and I mean, oh my God, whew. The awards that she got and the things he had to give up to her.
I got a copy of her divorce decree
from the outside from the outside looking in. Sometimes you can say, okay, these attorneys have a lot of money. They're either charging a lot of money or they do very well. They know what they're doing. No, she got her start because her ex-husband was loaded, and she took him for, in my opinion, from what I read, because I don't want her to come back and suing me for nothing I don't have. In my opinion, from what I read, she got a ton of stuff. And I could be wrong, but I think the building she's in right now for her office, I think that building's paid for. I think that used to belong to her ex-husband. The building is paid for.
I got a copy of Abrams' divorce. I got a copy of Willick's divorce. I got a copy of the Serial's divorce. And these guys that are talking all this crap about other people, their backyard is terrible.
They are the worst of the worst.
Now,
their backyard is terrible.
They talk about the fox running the hen house. Dude, we are talking demons trying to run heaven. It is. But this is hideous.
But unlike them, I don't put their bullshit out like they do with everybody else that's not proven. Because I know in divorces people make allegations. People make allegations all the time. But one thing they need to look for is a conviction. If there's no conviction there, go F yourself.
Unless they buy off the courts, which they often do.
Oh yeah.
But all I can say is it's always these same people. There's a handful of people, and it's always the Willicks, it's always the Abrams, it's always the DeSerios, it's always the Grimes, it's always the Jabatos, the John Joneses. It's always these same sons of bitches that do this. And one of the people that really pisses me off is Ochoa. He's another one of these clowns. He got thrown off of T. Matthew Phillips' case, thrown off, and then try to make it look like he didn't get thrown off. man,
What do you
Well, he got thrown off the Ryan Smith case too.
That too.
But
Yes.
you know something? When VIPI started this in 16, you didn't hear nothing about none of these.
no.
You didn't hear no NCW, no our Nevada judges. None of these people. They were like nameless.
All
And then
Nevada corrupt judges.
when
You didn't
veterans
hear
in
about
politics got involved, all of a sudden they made a name off of veterans in politics.
They made you. They don't realize it. They made you bigger. They blew you up because they're constantly going after you because you were the only one and has been the only one exposing this corruption. You're the only one.
You know, there's something else that you touched on that is kind of interesting. You know, you talk about their relationships and how they should recuse themselves. And when I first, I'm still dealing with it after being divorced for 9 years. My last divorce, I brought up the fact that Abrams and her then partner Cisneros from the law firm sat on a board with Judge Duckworth at the time of our case. Doesn't matter. Judicial board don't care because there's actually a judicial code of conduct policy that says that them sitting on family boards together and doing the work for family court together doesn't create bias. Which, as a professional, I can tell you, when I was a police officer and the DAs you work with and the DA investigators you work with and all these other like child services, everyone that you work with, that you have a working relationship with, that kind of gives you a favoritism towards those people. Because I've worked so many cases with these people. We've been on so many boards together. We've discussed so many laws and come up with so many solutions. I believe I know what this person's talking about. So when that person steps into your courtroom and is in front of you, you're going to take their word over other people's word because you've worked with them so many times. And yet the judicial discipline.
And they know that.
Yeah.
And they know that.
Yeah. But the judicial discipline board and the code of conduct, it's okay. How is it okay for these people to work hand in hand for years and sit on so many boards together and then to still be in front of your courtroom?
Until it's somebody from the disciplinary board, some kin from the disciplinary board, get their cases all screwed up because of that. Then they'll pay attention. Until it comes knocking on their door, they don't give a crap.
I was told. We all know that Willick helped to change the disability. Well, he went after military's disability. He's also been changing laws. He helped sit on the board and write some stuff for the new child support law. And judges will brag when Willick says something about child support. Oh yeah, me and him sit on the same board together. I've personally heard that.
Yeah, I've heard that too. But look, speaking of going after military, service-connected disabled veterans disability, Rhonda Frostberg got reversed because she went after a service-connected disability benefits.
Yes.
And the Supreme or the appellate court say that they reversed it, saying that it's against federal law and that she abused her discretion.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I read that case. The guy was overseas somewhere, wanted to appear via video because he couldn't make it to the States. She told him, no, you can't, and then goes and gives his disability pension away, which you can't do. I mean, no matter whether it's a VA for the people that served, or any type of disability through Social Security, or even any disability period. If you work in a job and your job locally has disability insurance and you become disabled on that job, you should not be able to touch any disability.
Because disability is supposed to make you whole.
Yes.
Okay. So this is what I tell folks. If you want my disability payment, then you need to take the ailments that go along with that. If you're not willing to accept the ailments that go along with that, then don't touch my disability at all, because it's supposed to help me become whole. It has nothing to do with you getting a paycheck. Okay? If you want the ailments, I tell folks, I'll give you all my ailments.
Just make me
you
whole
have
again.
it, and you can have the disability and all my ailments. All the bullshit going on with me, you could have.
Yep.
And if you're an amputated vet, cut off your damn leg and take the check.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, in my opinion, Willick's such a scumbag. Talking about disability. What hasn't Mr. Willick told the world yet? You have a disability, and yet you go after other people's disabilities. You want other people's money, yet you have a disability that you had to put an elevator in your house over 6 months ago. What is your disability? Why don't you want to tell anybody? You don't want anyone to know that you got MS? You're disabled. You need certain stuff. There's laws to protect you, yet you want to go after veterans' disabilities. You want to go after police officers' disabilities. This man even went after a individual, I want to say, from the Teamsters Union. Guy had cancer, was down, almost died, finally got back to being healthy. I guess the ex-wife, there was a quadro that needed to be done that hadn't been done yet. She goes to fucking Quadro Masters. He does a Quadros, takes all this guy's pension. It's in the Supreme Court right now. That's not what was agreed upon. This guy's a scumbag.
I know.
You know, when it comes to Willick,
They're hypocrites.
Yeah. You got MS. You got a disability. And you still don't respect disability? I guess God got you, didn't he?
you know, there's an old saying, an old German saying. I lived in Germany in the military for years, and it goes. Let me see if I can translate it correctly. It says, "The millstone grinds slowly, but it grinds every kernel."
Mm-hmm.
And I just karma, or payback, or Galatians chapter 6 verse 7.
Mm-hmm.
God will not be mocked. What a man soweth, that shall he also reap.
Mm-hmm.
It is coming around. It is
Everything
coming
happens
around.
for a reason.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's coming around.
Yeah. It just when I heard that, you know, and like you said, as a Christian, I feel bad. I feel really bad that it brought, and it still brings a smile to my face. I feel bad about that because I have
You're not the
beliefs.
only one.
But it's like you say, what goes around comes around.
The misery and the hell that man has inflicted upon families.
Mm-hmm.
Let me explain something to you. You know, family, they say it's the unit of society. Family is also the unit of heaven.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you something. This man has brought hell on earth.
Yep.
He deserves everything he gets and more.
Yeah.
And more. And I am not kidding when I say this. And I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about Shone. I'm talking about Melvin Grimes. I'm talking about Jabato. I'm talking about all these dirtbags.
Yeah.
Every single John Jones, Jack Wagon,
You're talking about Alex Gabato. Right?
Alex Jabato,
Yeah.
Black Tar Heroin Jabato, right? China White Jabato.
I've seen his divorce decrees too.
Just saying. Just saying.
All these people that come that
These
talks
people-
about people, that talks
Yes.
about people,
Yep.
they got worse shit in their background.
Infinitely worse than the people that they're sitting there judging
And
looking
you
down
know
their
what? I'm
nose at.
just sitting back and I'm waiting because I'm just waiting for the right moment, and then I'm going to put it all out on all these people.
You know, it's funny that you should say that because
Timing is everything.
the people that they talk trash about, a U.S. Marine that puts his life on the line for this country, a law enforcement officer walks out the door, doesn't even know if it's the last morning he's going to see his baby girl, as he's putting on that uniform and trying to figure out if he's going to come home that night. The people that sacrifice their lives for this country, these are the people that they want to talk trash about?
The ones that never served.
The ones that never, my goodness.
And the ones that did serve never saw combat.
Yes, and then it's even worse because they're not only the ones that didn't serve, they're the ones that are looking into a 14-year-old girl's dressing room masturbating up in Carson City.
Yeah. Well,
And got it squashed.
Yes.
Well, also, I actually have copies of it. Well, not copies of it, but a sort of confirmation that was talked about on Facebook. We're showing about the case where he was, and I don't know if it was verbally abused or what happened, but somehow one of the cases he was involved in, he said something or did something disrespectful or abusive in that case that got that case sealed. It had something to do with the children. I mean, these are the people that are the family experts, the family law experts. Mm-hmm. I mean, you'd think. I mean, and I'm not going to bash anything to do with his military career.
I will.
But one would think that being in the military, him serving, period. Like I said, he condoned himself more like a professional, like with the NCW. That he'd condone himself as a professional when dealing with kids when it comes to being a paralegal. I understand paying your bills, making money. I get it. Your career as a paralegal. But bring some of that stuff you were either raised with or learned in the services about being professional and
standing up
Yeah.
for the American
You talking about
people.
David Schoen?
Yeah.
But he can't do that because he's employed by the Abrams Law Group,
Yep.
and so is his wife. I mean, if he was to do that, go after them, he's not going to get any income. He's not going to support his kids. He's going to be out on the street. So he's biased as all hell.
Yep.
You know, so he won't do that. He'd rather backstab people than doing what's morally right.
There are some dirty
get a
people
paycheck.
that have been served in the military. One of them is Miley. Just look at what happened in Afghanistan. You know what I mean? You can't possibly look at that situation where we have people literally that we have left behind, American citizens that we've left behind. If you remember, when I was a kid, we had this thing as day 5 of the hostage crisis, or day 18 when Iran had our hostages, and they had 55 hostages. Here we have hundreds of people, and no one is saying jack. And it's people like Schoen that go to the dark side. You know what I mean? Involved. You know, when I was a kid, they had this stuff called PCP, and people would just go crazy and do just crazy stuff because it was PCP. They turned into like superhuman monsters, right? Well, we got the same thing going on in the family court right now with all these crazy ass judges. Yeah. They literally have black robe syndrome, and they sit down there and couldn't give a damn about the American family.
And you know something? The election, this past election, got rid of a lot of bad judges, like Sandra Pomerantz, who's a racist,
Who's now a senior judge.
Don't
worry, I'm working on that.
And I believe the NAACP is going to get involved too. And then we have Cheryl Moss, who locked up mom and the 2 kids because they didn't want to go with the father, who was a known convicted domestic batterer.
Yes.
And DUI, known convicted, and the kids were scared to death because the kids didn't want to go. She put them in child haven, locked up mom. Yeah. So, well, I'm glad she's off the bench.
You know what a lot of these judges have in common? Even through our Nevada judges, they're at about a 60% overturn ratio in the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
If you look at the statistics, the real judges, and I'm going to call them real judges because they are over criminal courts, because criminal courts have actual NRSs you have to follow and abide by.
Right.
They just don't do it.
They use discretion.
In criminal court, all those judges
that means their
maybe,
own personal bias.
They're maybe at a 15% or lower overturn ratio at Supreme Court level. Mm-hmm. Family court judges, on average, 40 to 60% overturn ratio.
Yeah, you know.
Any other job in this country, if you were wrong 40 to 60% of the time, you'd be fired, you'd be unemployed.
You know, it's even crazier than that because last year or the year before, I can't remember which one it was, there was almost 900 cases that were appealed to the Supreme Court. Out of all the courts, we're talking probate, civil, criminal, all of them. You know what I mean? All the different courts, cases, Veterans Court, all these different courts, right? Mm-hmm. Over 800 of them were family court.
Yeah. That's because
800.
That's because there's no overhead. There's no watch group really watching them. 65% of litigants go to family court anyways.
Yeah. There's
sorry. Let me I strike that. 65% of litigants in family court are pro se.
Yes.
Okay. So and then they allow judges to bring their discretion to the bench, and to me, discretion means their personal bias.
It truly does.
Yep.
And the reason I'm saying this,
when you go against what NRS says. NRS is Nevada arrest. It's the law. I don't see how you can use discretion to go against the law.
Well, they do it. They do it on.
And I don't know how this Matthew Harder is still allowed to be a judge. You know, bankruptcy fraud, mortgage fraud, perjury, and he's still sitting on the damn bench. Proof. I got this guy dead to rights.
Yeah.
He did it. There is, the bankruptcy court clerk even signed saying this is a certified true copy with the seal on there.
Yeah.
He did it. And it's under penalty of perjury, and he signed it, and his wife, Brandy, signed. He did it. There is no doubt that he did it. And this is the same guy that holds children's hostage and tell moms or dads that if you don't pay our court-appointed psychologists or psychiatrists, if you don't pay them what you owe them, you can't see your kids until you pay them.
Yep.
Which there's an NRS law that says you can't hold a child as a sword to do whatever you want to do.
Well, that's what they're doing.
And
with,
they do it all the
this,
time.
With this reunification.
They do parental alienation day in, day out, and then they accuse litigants for doing the same damn thing that they do.
Yep.
Lawyers file tons of paperwork against litigants, but when a litigant files paperwork to defend themselves, which is a constitutional right, to defend themselves, they're viewed as vexatious, and then their constitutional right and their free speech is chilled, and their constitutional right is taken away. But yet the attorneys could do that shit to make a buck.
Yeah, the Supreme Court calls vexatious litigant status a civil death penalty.
Yeah,
because you literally can't even talk. You can't defend yourself, and this is what they try to do. All I'm saying,
it does it all the time. It's a tactic.
It truly is.
One that files thousands of bullshit.
Yes.
He's the one that throws shit against the wall and see what sticks.
He'll use cases from every state in the United States. If there's nothing here in Nevada to back him up, he'll go through all 50 states and throw all that shit in his paperwork.
Yeah, it is time for a voting revolution.
Well, we proposed the bill, the remove or retain, and
even that's mild. Even that's mild.
And the reason we put together this remove or retain because a lot of these corrupt judges run unopposed. The only way you could take a judge out is through the ballot box. That's it. That's how I believe because until the Supreme Court steps up and start knocking out some of these family court judges, until the Nevada judicial selection discipline comes out and start knocking out some of these family court judges, the only way you get rid of a judge is at the ballot box. But how could you get rid of a judge if they don't have an opponent?
Yep, exactly.
Right.
The bar isn't doing anything to the lawyers.
The bar sucks. So remove or retain if a judge wins his primary and move to the general election by himself, or never have a primary because nobody would oppose a judge because attorneys are scared because they have their caseload in front of that judge. They have more than just that one case.
Then they're screwed.
They're screwed. Or they got friends that are friends of that judge. That's a judge, and they got cases. They're still screwed. So attorneys don't want to run against a judge because of those reasons. They all belong to one big mob group called the state bar.
Yeah. Yep.
So, or the Clark County Bar Association, whichever one. So remove or retain if a judge runs unopposed and in general election, remove or retain is under their name, and if remove gets more votes, then the seat is vacated. The Judicial Selection Committee starts taking applications and send 3 names to the governor. If it's a justice of the peace, then it goes before the Board of County Commission. If it's a municipal race, then it goes before their city council. So that way we could get rid of some of these corrupt judges that are on the bench, and the people will have a voice. And it was at the last legislative session, Dr. Robin Titus proposed the bill to the committee, and Brittany Miller killed the bill in committee. And it didn't even come out for a hearing. That's what happens.
Is Brittany Miller connected to Ross Miller?
No, Assembly Brittany Miller.
Well, this is what I don't get.
So hopefully it'll come back out next session and pass. That's the only way we could get, because they got judicial immunity unless you take them to federal court.
Dude, what you're proposing is mild. It's mild.
Well, check this out, and you can't recall a judge.
Nope.
There's no damn term limits for a judge.
Wait, why can't you recall a judge? I want you to
Because
explain
Supreme Court came down with a ruling saying you can't recall a judge after the Catherine Ramsey case, when Sandra Morgan, a city attorney of North Las Vegas, wanted to run against a municipal court judge, and there's no damn election, right? And I don't even know how a city attorney could run against an active city attorney could run against a current judge, because they bring cases before that judge. There's a conflict of interest right away.
Conflict of interest.
So anyway, Supreme Court came down and said you can't recall a judge because we have the Judicial Disciplinary Commission to get rid of judges.
Worthless.
Ella, how many
Worthless.
judges did they get rid of?
Worthless. Here you are.
They couldn't even get rid of Rita Hughes.
Here you are. You're showing a video, 2 different videos, where Judge Pomerantz is literally taking stuff out of her court case that she's saying in her hearing. There's like 2 or 3 minutes that you're putting, and you show both videos. And what happened to Pomerantz? 0. Goose egg. Nothing.
What Ochoa get
Alternate
fined?
court videos.
What Ochoa get fined for the T. Matthews case? What, $100?
Oh.
Or he got fined
Yeah,
recently for something.
Vincent Ochoa didn't file his financial campaigns for like 5 years, and it's like $100 a day or something like that. He's supposed to get charged, and he did it for 5 years. He's supposed to get charged thousands of dollars.
Yeah,
He only got
$100
charged
a day.
$100. $100 even. That's it.
And these are the.
They probably said, "Could you just pay $100, Judge? Just pay $100 so it could look like we did something."
And this
That's
is
probably the conversation that
this
happened.
is what the feds are funding to watch over our local judges.
Yeah, our
It's
state
a joke.
agencies suck, and you got the Matthew Harder case that we went to the Nevada Attorney General's office to investigate him based on the perjury, bankruptcy, and mortgage fraud. And then T. Math and another litigant filed a federal lawsuit saying that he's inadequate as a judge under Amendment 14 of the Constitution. And then the Nevada Attorney General's office is defending him in that case. And I'm like, wait a minute, we already went to them and complained, and then now they're defending him. That's a huge conflict of interest. This whole town is a joke when it comes to judicial bench and the state agencies that's supposed to regulate judges on the bench. It's all a freaking farce.
Well, from a law enforcement standpoint, how is it that the Nevada Attorney General is supposed to be the highest law enforcement office in the state, and yet you find that one of your people that you're supposed to defend, because they're supposed to defend judges if something happens, but you find out that it's black and white that your judge, your person committed a crime. You know, now when it comes to, I can tell you how police unions run. If a police officer commits a crime, doesn't matter if you're a union member or not, they're not going to defend you because guess what? You committed a crime. You need to go defend yourself. How is it that the highest office, that's supposed to be the highest law enforcement office in the state of Nevada, the Attorney General's office, is going to defend one of their judges that blatantly committed a criminal act? It should be illegal,
And it's in black and white.
unethical. I mean,
it's not hearsay.
yeah.
We need somebody that's going to run for Attorney General that's going to deal with this stupidity, because they're the only people literally left.
Yep.
You want to know something?
For justice.
And you and I'll tell you how far that this bullshit has gone with people's feelings getting hurt. So I have a corporate charter. I'm going to change the subject a little. I have a corporate charter that's supposed to be renewed.
Okay.
So I went to go renew it on the day. It was supposed to be renewed on a September 30th. The very next day, it would expire. So on September 30th, I went to renew it, and I did it on a Thursday, right? So I get a letter back from the Secretary of State saying that your payment is being processed, blah, blah, blah. I go on my bank statement, and it shows that the payment is pending. So I didn't pay attention to it. And here I am on a Monday, I look at the thing, and it says default. I'm like, what the hell, on my corporate chart? I'm like, what the hell? So I go back to the bank thing, and it still says pending. And then I call up the Secretary of State, and I'm like, hey, I renewed this on a Thursday, right? And they're saying, oh, no, you renewed it at midnight. I'm like, no, I didn't. I renewed it at 12:30 in the afternoon. It wasn't the next day. And they said, oh, yeah, you did it timely. And then they said, oh, we can't find the confirmation number for that payment. And then they go, oh, yeah, we found it. Oh, by the way, we're gonna send you back your payment, and it's gonna take 10 days for you to get back. So I'm saying, you want me to renew it and tie, because it's $650, right, each. You want me to renew it and tie up $1,300? Because if I did it again, the bank is still holding that money, and I did it again, it's going to take another $650 while it's holding the other one, right? And they go, oh, well, that's between you and your bank. So I said, is this a scam for late fees? And the lady goes, I take offense to that, and hung up the phone.
You can take a baseball bat
Offense to that and hung up. Now I'm thinking, wait a minute. She's taking offense because I'm asking the question, is this a scam? Because anybody in their right mind would say that,
Yes.
right? Is it a scam for late fees? It's a simple question.
Yes.
Offense and hang up. Look, she's not the Secretary of State, okay? The Secretary of State position, it's a taxpayer's building, it's a taxpayer's entity. The state pays for it. You have no ownership in it. You can't get any stock options in it. Why the hell is this woman would take offense? The thing is, I think they just wanted to hang up the phone.
I mean, if
If
you have
that person was
confirmation-
working for me, I would fire them.
Yeah.
They're feeding at the government trough.
I would fire them because that's not how you deal with customers.
No.
Was I yelling? No. Was I cursing? No. I was calm and I asked a simple question based on my circumstances. Is this a scam for late fees? Because why would they want to give back your money when you got to renew it anyway?
Well, you got to renew it anyway. Why don't just apply that money to?
They know that's what you were doing. They
Yes.
know the money's there and they tell you you're giving it back.
She hung up because she had no answer for you, and you're 100% correct.
Yeah.
I mean, where's she gonna go with that?
These people with their feelings, I could tell you all kinds of crazy crap they called me. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
And my feelings are in check.
Yeah.
But I still listen to all that craziness.
Yeah.
I just deal with it a different way.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's weird because for some odd reason, anyone that even says hi to you is now affiliated with you, and they're gonna attack them. It's like, why? And I've even told these people before. It's like, hey, you know what? Me and Steve have a past. I said, we didn't see eye to eye on stuff sometimes, but guess what? There's other things we see eye to eye on. And just because we had one issue, but we can see eye to eye on another issue, doesn't necessarily mean we're buddy and we're
and this is a very good example.
yeah.
And that's how Democrats and Republicans need to start working.
Yeah. It's like we had our issue, but then we have the same issue with the family court. We see the corruptness. So yeah, we can be professional and we can work together even though we had a bad past. But yet this other group, NCW, sees people being professional and saying, hey, this is the only guy that's actually, I mean, you've not only backed some judges, the same judges you've backed sometimes that act a fool, you call them out. Okay, NCW's never done that. Okay,
Never.
but when
Never.
and people see that, people say, okay, they may like you, not like you, agree with your tactics, not agree with your tactics, but you're the only one that's going, hey, I supported this guy, now he's acting a fool, now I don't support him. Okay, I supported this person at one point, now they did something wrong, now I don't support him.
Like Bryce Duckworth.
Yeah. So people come to you and go, look, this guy, no matter what people say about him, he actually tells the truth when it comes to, hey, I backed this guy and then he's doing wrong, so now I'm going to go after this guy. They actually see that there's somebody that's actually trying to hold people accountable. NCW, they're not holding anybody accountable. I don't even think they said anything bad about Judge Jones. They've never said anything bad about Ochoa. They've never said anything bad about Hoskins, who legally was responsible for kidnapping elderly people, putting them in old folks' home, crazy homes, and watching them fucking die.
No,
But
they say
won't
something
say
bad
that.
about Jones, I think, because Jones is no longer on the bench.
Yeah.
But if
But-
you're an active judge in family court, they will
Yeah.
not, under any circumstances, say anything bad about that
I
judge.
mean, have they even said anything about Harder?
Never.
Never. Even the Las Vegas Review Journal talking about Pomerantz is the lowest scoring judge, but this nuts is nut. These people, it's like, and then they turn around and say, well, you have all these comments against you and there's no good comments for you, because they bounce around in their own echo chamber. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous.
Because it doesn't fit their narrative, so they're not. I mean, up until 16, a lot of those judges were friends of mine.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't for the life of me support them after I saw what
they were
did,
doing.
or what type of demons they were.
Yes.
A lot of them were wolves in sheep's clothing, like Gonzalez, former Judge William Gonzalez, who should not even sit on the, and that's why he didn't make the bench the last time when he ran. Should not ever sit on the bench for telling the lawyer that tell your client who is in combat in Afghanistan that tell your client to find a way outside of combat to call up my chambers. This is somebody that's never even shot a gun. The guy's fighting for his life, fighting for his fellow Marines' life, supporting their country, and you're gonna tell him that he needs to concentrate on this in court here when our service-connected service member Civil Relief Act that says that any service member that is out of jurisdiction of the court that's on military orders, if a case comes before the court, the case is automatically stayed until that service member comes back into the jurisdiction and off of orders. These judges don't know federal law, and if they do, they piss on it.
They truly do. Look at the Conte case, the Wayne Conte case. This guy served 5 consecutive back-to-back tours in Vietnam. Never left Vietnam, right?
It's not like he came home.
Not like he came home.
Took a break, went back.
No. 5, and then tried to do a 6th, but couldn't do the 6th tour because the military was saying, listen, we don't want you to die here.
And you got all these conscientious objectors out there and all these people that run to Canada, right?
Clinton,
and this
Bill
guy
Clinton.
stayed here and did 5 tours in Vietnam back to back and come and get screwed over by a family court judge.
And listen, I have never had anything bad to say about Mary Perry because she represented me once and it seemed like she tried to do a good job. But doggone it, this you should have fixed. You should have fixed this. You should have fixed this. You know, please forgive me about getting emotional about this. But here's the deal. When you have someone that puts their life on the line as a law enforcement officer or military, doggone it, they owe us some doggone respect. Less than 1% of the people in this country serve. Less than 1%. Less than 1%.
But the illegal immigrants have more rights.
They have more rights than we
veterans.
Yeah.
I mean, look what they're passing: $500,000 for illegals to get representation in court. And here we have American citizens that are losing their kids left and right in the family court situation because they don't have legal representation. And you got Southern Nevada legal aid that's a joke all by itself because you have to be on the streets before they decide to help you. And then
they won't do it.
And then they're supposed to have pro bono attorneys. And I looked up that word. It means free, but they look for ways to charge the other side to get money out of you.
They'll only take the cases that are pro bono where the person on the other side has money, so they can go after them.
Yeah, and how they know that? By the financial disclosure.
Yep.
And then you got people like Matthew Harder who filed a false document with federal bankruptcy court on the penalty of perjury.
Yep.
And you got a litigant like Michael McDonald who's just trying to fight for his kid.
Oh yeah.
Right? Trying to fight for his kid. Did the same thing, right? He committed perjury. He did, right? He filed a false document. He did, okay? In prison.
Yeah.
While this judge, who's supposed to be at a higher standard, did it in federal court and still allowed to sit on the bench.
Yep.
Unfreaking believable.
And one of those attorneys that actually helped to be an expert witness to put McDonald in jail, Marshall Willick. His clients all the time commit perjury. And you know what? From some of his former clients have said that what he says about it, and this is hearsay, so it's an opinion hearsay, but I've heard that some of his clients he's told some of his clients, don't worry about perjury. It's just family court. I'll take care of it. His own clients commit perjury all the time. I mean, he takes money under the table. Get this. The Brunzel factor that he likes to use all the time.
Yeah.
It talks about the quality of the attorney you use. Quality of the attorney. I don't see any S in parentheses when it comes to that case. The attorney. The Willick Law Group will charge their clients for every attorney, paralegal, assistant, janitor, or cleaning fucking crew that touches or even moves the paperwork. You got charges for 3 attorneys, which will usually be the Marshall Willick, whatever lackey he puts on it, whether it be, and I don't know him personally, but Trevor works in that office. I've heard different stories about him. Lauren Cole, whatever lackey he puts on the case, he gets charged for one of his lackeys. Willick, Richard Crane's always in there getting fucking money for something. 2 or 3 paralegals and an assistant. Okay, the Brunzell factor that these courts go by, and I'm probably saying it wrong, to say the quality of work. I didn't read anywhere where it says you can hire a fucking team to attack somebody. Where in that court case does it say you can hire 3 attorneys, 2 paralegals, an assistant, and a whole damn office against somebody, especially when they're pro per? How is that quality of work? If you're so quality, one person in that office should be able to handle that case, and one person in that office should be asking for attorney fees under that case, the Brunzell factor. But they don't. And also what happens is I've found out current case law. When attorneys are asking for attorney fees, and they do this Brunzell factor, the disparity between incomes still matters. If you're going through a divorce and you do a financial, the man does a financial, and they see your net worth and everything, and then attorney fees are asked for 2 years down the road, you're supposed to redo a financial disclosure form and update what both parties are worth. But they never do. Because there can be times where, say, one side starts making 10 grand a month, and then, oh wow, they came into $336,000 in inheritance money. Yet the other side's still pro per, maybe disabled. Oh, but yet, hey, let's try to get this guy for $100,000 worth of attorney fees. Wait a second. Where's your updated FDFs? Where's the disparity in fucking income come in? And what about that person's new net worth? The appeals court recognizes it. The Supreme Court recognizes it. But this supposed godfather of family court who's so proud and will stand up and boast and brag about no one else can do what he does.
Who says he's not a public figure?
Who says he's not a public figure will sit there and manipulate it. Okay, he knows he's supposed to do an FDF before presenting the Brunzell factor for his attorney fees. He knows that someone's net worth plays a role in it, yet he ignores it.
Because it doesn't fit his agenda.
It doesn't fit his agenda. And yet these judges don't give a shit. And they just want to go after other people. Mm-hmm. It's like, when are they going to start looking at this guy and going, hey, dude, something's wrong with him? You know, and I'll bring up what I heard his diagnosis was again, MS. At 63 years old, it affects your thinking, your brain. You can, I don't know.
Well, I got videos of him breaking down in court.
Yeah.
But I haven't put those up yet.
The word is cognitive function.
Yeah.
Multiple sclerosis affects your cognitive function. So, at what point do you? At one point, I mean, I know there's attorneys that have worked with MS before that have had their eyesight going, had to read close up and whatnot. But at what point do people start disassociating, saying, "Look, okay, we had a good run, we made a lot of money, hugs, kisses, but guess what, Fredo? It's time to go. Okay, you got MS. You know, sorry, but
You're disabled.
if his cognitive function is going to start to go at 63, which from what I've read, MS really starts to take off, you're still going to say this guy's an expert? You're still going to listen to what he has to say? This guy bastardizes the court system all the time.
I know Craig Mueller should, file a motion based on this to help Michael McDonald out.
I mean, this is the thing. They say that it's rare to get a diagnosis for MS after the age of 50. So maybe this guy's had it for the last 20 years, he's just been hiding it.
Yeah, like I said, I got videos of him breaking down. I have videos of him crying in court.
Listen, and by the way, we want to make sure that we don't disparage anybody who's had this totally terrible, debilitating disease.
Absolutely.
Our hearts and prayers go out to you and your families for dealing with such a horrific malady. However, in the case of Judge Willick, MS.
Oh yeah, he's a
He's a hearing bastard in North Las Vegas. In his case, MS should stand for mentally stupid, because this is a jackwagon and an evil man.
No, you're right. Yeah, because
He's got what he's got coming to him.
I was talking to another Facebook group I'm on with about him, and someone did call me out. And you're right. I'm not saying anything negative about disabled people. When you're disabled, MS is a horrible, horrible, horrible disability. Any disability. Yeah, I'm not saying anything. We're not saying anything negative about disabled people. We're not making fun of them. Like I said, as a Christian, I feel bad that it brought a smile to my face, and I still do. But a lot of people do not understand the magnitude of the evil of this person. It even comes down to the current undersheriff, I believe, Chris Darcy. Chris Darcy, back in the day, cops go through divorces all the time. He hired Trevor to do some work for him previous, and then he went through his last divorce. And guess who his ex hired? The Willick Law Group. Yep. He said, hey, wait, Willick can't represent my ex because I worked with Trevor. I did business with Trevor. Willick tried to stand up in court and demand that he could still represent his client.
He wants to get paid.
He wanted to get paid, and he wanted to go after the undersheriff's retirement, cash out, because he knew there was a cash cow there. You can look it up. He writes something that's called, and he uses the word cha-ching or something in there when he talks about going after Nevada PERS or people's retirements. I mean, in my opinion, he's an evil bastard. Yeah. And anything that happens to him, like you said.
Well, you know what? Jennifer Elliott summed it up best when she spoke about the Abrams law firm. She goes, "You guys are bully and you intimidate lawyers, and your client didn't file lied on his financial disclosure, but yet her fiance went after Michael McDonald for the exact same thing."
Yeah.
Go freaking figure.
Yeah. I mean, Marshall Willick and his law group, they Quadro-masters. Everyone go to Quadro-masters. He has judges like Ochoa that he's done business with, ordering people to go to Quadro-masters to do the pension.
Yeah.
What the fuck? And Quadro-masters, and this is the problem right now I'm having with Nevada PERS. Nevada PERS, if you're a Nevada employee and you have a PERS account, they are not your friend. Nevada PERS will not protect you.
No.
In 1993, when AB 555 was put in place with NRS 286.6703, the purpose was to protect the system and to protect its members. And in that session, along with the wording, if a quadros is presented to the system that the wording doesn't meet the language of 286.6703, it is supposed to be rejected, even if it makes it past that. And it's signed by a judge, and it comes there, and they catch it, and the language has conflicting language, or doesn't meet the standard, it's still supposed to be rejected.
Correct.
And by law, the system can still reject it, even though it's signed by a judge, because the system was not a party to that lawsuit. But yet the system is saying, well, a judge signed it, we got to enforce it. No, that's bullshit. That's not the way the law goes. And Marshall Willick, every single one of his quadros has added language that conflicts with NRS 286.6703. Because in that NRS, it says that payments will stop. If I could, and I was able to go get a job with Parks and Recreation, become another Nevada PERS member, pay into the system, my payment to my alternate payee stops. But yet, the conflicting language that the Willick puts in all his quadros is if I do that, I still have to pay her out of pocket. Yeah. What the fuck? How does that language not conflict with that language? How was that missed? Also, you're supposed to have your last known address. Addresses are correct. They don't care. Wait, if there's the same type of street with the same name in the town, two streets the same thing, but one's an avenue, one's a street, don't you think you should correct that?
Yeah.
We do have a Henderson, Las Vegas, North Las Vegas. If there's supposed to be a North Las Vegas in front of the Las Vegas, isn't that supposed to be corrected?
Yes.
They don't correct it.
They don't.
There's other stuff in there like PERS pays you out. I think the fifth day before the last of the month is the way it goes. His language that he adds is that the participant is responsible for the payments no later than between the 1st and the 5th of the month. The way the language from the actual law says, it's PERS responsibility once the quadro is enacted to make an account for the alternate payee, and that's how they get paid. It's not our responsibility, but yet I'm on the hook.
Yeah.
Not to mention, if anything ever happens to PERS, say they go bankrupt, okay, I didn't pay into PERS. As a police officer or firefighter, your employer pays in for you. Nothing ever came out of my marital funds, my paycheck, nothing. Metro paid for it every step of the way. Yet if that system goes bankrupt and I don't get money no more because of his language that contradicts NRS 286.6703, I'm still on the hook.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Some crack smoke.
and let me ask you this when it comes to family court. I can understand 9 out of 10 Nevada PERS pensions the employee and the employer pay into. Police and fire is the only PERS where the employer pays 100% of your contribution. So let me ask you, if I come into a marriage with that, that should be my sole and separate property. During the marriage, none of my paycheck, nothing acquired in the marriage goes into that PERS or helps to build it. Nothing. I get divorced. How the hell is that community property? It's paid from a separate bank account while we're married, which is Metro's paying into it for me, or the fire department's paying into it for a firefighter. Yet, I got to give her half of my PERS, which to me, according to sole and separate property NRS, it seems to fit the bill. I mean, unless I'm crazy.
So you got to appeal it.
Go federal with
And
it.
a lot of people don't know about that.
You know what? I brought that up because it was funny because there's another court case a while back that I was looking at where a man had a classic car before he was married. Brought it into the marriage. Never used anything. No marital funds to maintain it, to gas it, nothing. Was able to keep it through the divorce because it was sole and separate property. Nothing from the marriage ever went into that. Okay? I brought my PERS account that Metro paid into for me. I never paid into it, not one fucking penny. Brought into the divorce, into the marriage. During the marriage, a separate bank account paid for those contributions, which was Metro. I get divorced. That should still be my sole and separate property. But yet, every time a cop or a firefighter goes to court, you got to split your pension. Now, I could see if you got married and then you became a police officer or a firefighter because your wife's helping to support your goal and your career and what you want to do. But if you bring it into the marriage, how does that not meet the definition of sole
You
and
already
separate
had
property?
it before you got married.
And I never paid one dime into it.
No.
Don't get it.
Well,
Steve, I want to cover 3 things real quick.
sure.
At the end of your segment, you always tell people to look into the camera and plead their case and basically give their information. I want to look into the camera and say something.
All right. Well, let's do this because Mark is going to zoom in on the person speaking with the YouTube camera.
Okay.
And not
Well, I
the,
can say it just
not
like
the
this.
face.
It's no big
I rather him zoom in. It brings more of an effect.
Okay.
So, do you have anything that we haven't covered that you want to cover?
It's just, I've been in this swamp 24 years. This family court system has gotten...
Okay, so that'll be your final. That'll be your okay.
This will be my final.
Okay, so let's do this. I would like to thank you for coming on the program, Mr. Arevalo. Mr. Hall, thank you for being the co-host.
My genuine pleasure, Steve.
And I know you have
You
your...
are always
Thank,
a great time.
thank you. And I know you have your own family court
Oh,
situation.
no. I want to say something else.
But Mr. Hall, look into the camera and give your final.
3 things I want to cover really quick. I apologize to the audience for my language, and the reason that I do is because what we're going through here is so hard and so tough because your kids are involved. It's hard not to get emotionally charged. So please, I know we've had comments before, and I apologize for that. The second thing I want to look into the camera and say is this. Judge Harder, we're coming for you. Judge Ochoa, all you clowns that are playing this game is going to end, and it's not going to end in a good way. When we get to the ballot box, I'm going to do everything in my power to remove you, and I will not stop until this is done. I have a responsibility to the American people to get rid of people like you. And you all know who you are, from the Pomerances to the Rena Hugheses, who goes back to the nest of Jennifer Abrams, and all this other crazy stuff. The Shones, the Ochoas, the Japatos, the Jim Jones, all of you, your time is coming to an end. The third thing I want to say is this, is that I really wanted to thank you for your service as a law enforcement officer. So many of our law enforcement officers are treated just so hideously bad. You know, people come to me as a black man and they say, don't you feel bad about racism? And I said, there's people that are getting racism worse than me. And the number one person in this country that's dealing with racism today is the white American law enforcement male officer. Or in fact, any officers are getting treated bad. I'm not talking about the officers that are bad, because those guys are criminals with a badge. But I'm talking about people that put their life on the line for us. Like we put our life on the line in the military. We feel a bond and a kinship with you. We cannot say enough about you, men. Enough said.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Mr. Arevalo, thank you for coming on the program. Your final words.
My final thoughts. Like I said before, you know, a lot of people are going to say that me and Sanson are associated. We're not associated. We met under very different circumstances the first time. We found a common enemy or corruption, and we decided, hey, you know, let's come together and see what we can do. You know, and the other thing, like what was said, our language sometimes here, you know, we're very passionate. Dealing with family court is very emotional. You know, sometimes you use foul language, sometimes you get upset, sometimes you get angry, because when you're upset and you got no justice and don't know what to do about it, it turns to frustration and anger, and that's where the bad language comes out. The other thing is, you know, I don't feel bad for the man for having MS, but I feel bad for every disabled individual who's ever struggled with any type of disability. And if I at all came across as happy about him having MS, I'd truly feel bad about that. And I do. Man's pure evil. Man's pure evil. He's got to deal with what he's got to deal with. But I want the audience to understand that we are not bigots. We're not against disabled people, and we're not racist. The last thing is, family court over the last 24 years, in my experience, and I've been in it for 24 years, has gone from just little problems to completely out of control. You have mediators that are now licensed attorneys getting paid, getting referrals from the judges. You have judges making mandated classes that every parent must take at a $299 head that goes back into her pocket. You got judges sitting on there that have been involved in criminal activities, like old people getting ripped out of their houses and put in insane asylums and just dying where their family can't even pull them out. I'm sorry, I watched the movie and I don't believe it. And then you got other judges signing court documents under the law of perjury, sitting on a bench. When does this stop? It's obvious you don't have checks and balances for what other businesses they're doing that funds their campaigns, where their campaign money goes, who contributes, how much. There's no checks and balances, and it's just one big business. Back when my child was a fifth grader, I did a fifth grade project about Nevada. Nevada is famous for the amount of divorces and marriages that happen in Las Vegas and the money and the revenue that it produces. There's got to be an end. There's got to be something federal to step in. We got to get rid of that judicial discipline so we can start recalling judges that shouldn't be there. There's got to be something done. And this is what I'll say, because I know certain group, NCW, Nevada Court Watchers. This is specifically to Schoen and to Desario. You guys want to say you're a real organization that really tries to prop up judges and does the right thing and help people out, help litigants out. How about you guys do something about the corruption? You guys know Harder signed something that was perjury, beyond a shadow of a doubt. You've seen the guardianship court case. I've not seen you guys say one bad thing about Norheim or Hoskins. How about you guys do what you say you're supposed to do and be there for litigants, to show litigants the good, the bad, and the ugly and try to make a difference. Don't just attack people you don't like and talk about people's cases you don't like and pick and choose. How about you talk about everybody, the good, the bad, and the ugly? You want to be a legitimate page? You want to be a legitimate group for family court? Start acting legitimate. Be a professional. Quit attacking people. Start pointing out flaws in some of these judges and try to fix one problem. I haven't seen you try to fix any problems.
Thank you, Mr. Arevalo.
We will support any attorneys general that will come out and campaign that they will put an end to this.
Well, folks, that was Burke Hall, our special co-host today, and Jesus Arevalo. I hope the camera is doing well over there, Mark. Jesus Arevalo discussing the corruption family court. Veterans in politics have been doing this constantly since 2016, and we have taken a lot of hits from it. We have also won a substantial amount of funding. Thank you, Jennifer Abrams, for suing me and having to pay $155,000. I don't know any mathematician would do something like that, or any person in their right mind, or any business executive will make that type of business decision, but you did. So it was a benefit to us. You and your cohort, Marshall Willick, who also sued me to defend his fiance, coming to the rescue. Since she sued me, you got to sue me too. Then you have this airtight case against me, and at least you said you did, because you sued other veterans group and they couldn't fight for their constitutional right, and you end up winning a judgment because they were default, and you call yourself somebody that really enjoys veterans, which we all know you only enjoy veterans if you could take money from them. But then you gave me a case and you sued me, and then you end up trying to dismiss it. So I'm just lost for words. But we all know your groups, NCW and our Nevada judges. Nobody would know who they are if it wasn't for veterans in politics. And you guys came and jumped on our bandwagon and try to play the other side to defend your corrupt judges in the family court that are actually destroying lives. You guys are in it for the love of money, which is totally disheartening. And there's a biblical term. They say money is the root to all evil. And maybe, Mr. Willick, you are now paying that price. And Miss Abrams, you're going to pay it too soon. But in one way or another, I think you already paid it by having to shell out $155 to veterans in politics.
Can I make a really quick
But
point?
no, you said your turn.
All right.
And I just wanted to say that if it wasn't for veterans in politics, I could truly say this. A lot of you judges that are now currently sitting on the bench wouldn't be there. Cheryl Moss left. You got Sandra Pomeranz vacated the seat, but now she's senior judge, but still vacated the seat for yet Mary Perry, who I think that she shouldn't be there neither. And I warned you folks about her. And you get what you vote for, so that's what you vote for. That's what you get. And we still have judges that need to be off that bench, like judges like Bryce Duckworth, judges like Vincent Ochoa, judges like Matthew Harder. And you know, there's some hint about Linda Marquis as well, how she did Michael McDonald. And you know, and one of the ways she did Michael McDonald was wrong. You had Alex Gubato, who's supposed to be representing Michael McDonald, at the last minute decided that he wasn't going to represent him anymore, and you still had Mike try to defend himself in the court of law, which he couldn't, but yet you did it anyway. You're supposed to give him ample time to find an attorney, and Linda, you didn't do that, which that was totally disheartening. Sandra Pomerantz did it opportune times with different litigants. One of them was Robert Madoff. And you know, a lot of you were friends of mine, or at least I did consider you friends, or somebody that would uphold the law. But then after I read what you guys have done, and I've seen videos, and we've been on this thing since 2016. And unlike other groups, they try and then they failed because the heat was too strong or too hot, and then they left. Veterans in Politics is still going strong. And we're not going to leave this pursuit of getting rid of corrupt judges off the family court bench until they're all gone.
Amen.
So once all you corrupt family court judges, the ones that I've named off, yes, in my opinion, you are corrupt. Until you leave the bench, whether you do it on your own or you're forced off the bench one way or another, just like Rena Hughes. Yes, Veterans in Politics, I take personal blame for Veterans in Politics removing Rena Hughes off the bench.
Yes, sir.
Personal blame for that. Because if Veterans in Politics didn't file if we didn't obtain the video and chose not to take it off the YouTube channel so other media outlets could see it and other people could see it and make a big stink about that, it wouldn't have got picked up by the news, for one. For two, if we didn't file a judicial disciplinary complaint against Rena Hughes and advise Mom to file a complaint herself, because Mom didn't know at the time, and we educated her like we have done with so many since 2016, and put it before the judicial discipline. And not only did we do that, we also had to go to Reno and we filmed the entire judicial disciplinary hearing, and we had to get a permit from the Judicial Discipline Commission to even do that, a media pass. And I don't even know why they moved it from Vegas, because this is where the venue is, but they took it out of Clark County and they sent it all the way to Reno, thinking that nobody would attend, but we did. And a lot couldn't attend because that room would have been packed because of the airfare. But what we did was videotape it, put it on YouTube, so they all could attend by watching. And that helped. That helped get Rena Hughes off of the bench, and she lost her primary. And thank God she left. And now Rena Hughes is working for the Abram Law Group. You know, it all makes good sense to me. I'm starting to realize all the corrupt folks go to the Abram Law Group. In my opinion, this is my opinion, all the corrupt groups go to the Abram Law Firm or the Marshall Willick Law Firm. Look, Mark Teixeira, who was looking for a job, where did he go? He went to Marshall Willick's office, and then he went to Jennifer Abrams, who gladly opened arms and hired him as a paralegal. So there you have it, folks. And I just want to say to all the litigants out there, stand strong. Your day's coming. It's going to happen. And all those corrupt lawyers out there that don't want to stand up for truth and justice and fairness, your day is coming too. Because this state bar is corrupt. And I think it's Phil Donahue, I forget his name, who's run Dabney, I don't know what's his name, that's running the state bar. You need to go because you're part of the problem. And this judicial discipline, I don't know if we need to demolish it or do something with it. Supreme Court needs your help on that. But this judicial discipline probably need to put new people in there and funded adequately so they could go after this corruption, since Supreme Court is saying that the Judicial Discipline Commission is the buffer and they're the ones that could get rid of judges. That's why we don't need to recall them, right? That was the whole thing behind not recalling judges. So do something with them, you know? Matthew Harder, come on. Guys, perjury, bankruptcy fraud, mortgage fraud. How could he even judge anybody after everybody knowing all that about him? It's just disgusting. You state agencies out there, Nevada Attorney General, the Judicial, the Nevada Commission on Ethics, you guys are absolutely worthless. What have any of you state agencies done regarding the corruption that has plagued this family court system for years? What have you done? What have you done? Why does it take a nonprofit, private organization to uproot all this corruption that you guys probably have right there at your fingertips? You probably even have way more than we have, but you chose not to do anything about it. It's very, very disheartening. It's very disheartening. And just the fact that you guys don't do anything about it, you know, you're accessory to after the fact or accessory to the fact, but you're still an accessory. Conspiracy, thank you. Might even be a RICO claim. You guys have done nothing. So, you know, here we have folks that's been trying to tell you guys what's going on in the family court. You know, we try to get an attorney general to oversee the entire judicial system, and that got shot down at two legislative sessions ago. But we need something. We need to fix this problem. We just really do. You said you had something to say?
Yeah, it's just a side comment. I wanted to say something about Sean. Sean keeps saying, you got $155,000. This ain't over yet, bro. We still got Willie.
Oh, you know, that doesn't even matter. The fact that it doesn't matter if the fact of the matter is his boss wrote a check of $155,000.
It ain't over yet.
That's the point. He's trying to throw it off.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. That's the point. That was the settlement agreement your boss made. She settled with there's not even a confidentiality clause. She settled. She wrote a check for $155,000.
Which puts a mark in the losing column for her.
Absolutely. Plus, she had to pay for her own attorneys. And think about all that time and energy that went involved, and the court documents are so high. How many cases could you have tried and litigated and made some money off of instead of trying to come after me, you stupid morons? Just stupid morons. Bad business practice.
I will not ask for confirmation or denial, but I'm also hearing Willick owes someone $500,000 for losing too. The other thing that's interesting you just mentioned that I didn't know is it's funny that the legislator won't put a deputy district attorney general in charge of family court, yet they have one in charge of the $43 billion Nevada PERS system, specifically for lawsuits. He doesn't do a whole lot of work.
I bring him over to family court.
I mean, I've talked to the guy. I like him. He's a decent guy, but you have a problem with family court that's obviously a super huge entity that's affecting a lot of people, yet you won't put an AG in charge of that, but you put an AG in charge of a $43 billion piggy bank?
There you have it, folks. I don't know what more to say. The only thing that I would like to say is that I wanted to end this by thanking our guests, Burke Hall for coming on the program.
My genuine pleasure.
Jesus Arevalo for coming on the program.
Always a pleasure.
To try to outroot and educate you folks on what's going on in the family court system. This is Steve Sampson, Burke Hall with Veterans in Politics. Until next time.